It's not only Indonesia. Sri Lanka is also reeling in the aftermath of heavy deluge. Hundreds killed, thousands of homes destroyed, and more than 1 million affected. Authorities estimate Sri Lanka will need up to $7 billion to rebuild. For more insights, we're joined by Philip Ward, country director of the World Food Program in Sri Lanka. Philip, give us a quick snapshot of the ground situation in Sri Lanka. How many people are still in shelters and what do they most need right now?
Yeah, the situation really is catastrophic here in Sri Lanka. 1.8 million people have been affected by the cyclone. We're finding 200,000 people are still in displaced centers across the country. And, farmland is completely inundated. Supply chains are starting to cut off. And the needs of people are really escalating. We're finding that 486 people have died. Over 300 people are still missing, and just devastating destruction toward the basic infrastructure of the country. This is going to be a humanitarian disaster, not just in the short term, but what we really need to do is make sure that over the longer term, we really protect people and ensure their livelihoods to prevent any rise in hunger and malnutrition.
And speaking of livelihoods, we're hearing more reports on many survivors afraid to go home. Is that changing? And if so, how is the WFP delivering food or aid to these survivors who are resistant to go to their homes in the next few weeks?
So we're starting to see some of the floodwaters dissipate and go down. But of course, people's homes have been destroyed. And so it's going to be a very challenging for them to get home. What we're doing at the World Food Program is immediately supporting with non-food items. At the beginning, we've sent out water tanks, diesel generators, sandbagging equipment because of the concerns around the flooding. And what we're also doing to ensure that people's basic food security needs are met are flying in fortified food that is so essential at a time like this to supporting people to make sure that they have the basic nutritional requirements that they're going to need. We also recognize, of course, that because of the amount of water that is still sitting across the country, that there are issues around health, water, and sanitation that also need to be addressed. So we're working closely with our other UN partners to make sure that both food security, nutrition, and other needs can be met in a coordinated way.
And this seems to not only take a lot of time, but a lot of money. We heard $7 billion needs to be poured in order for these efforts to be sustainable. And speaking of sustainability, is it actually sustainable to have tens of thousands of people living in these relief centers for weeks? If so, what is WFP's exit plan so families aren't stuck in a limbo with only temporary food rations?
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, a huge priority will be to mobilize resources to make sure that first of all, the humanitarian needs, the immediate needs can be met of people, but also then to ensure that their livelihoods can be rebuilt. And what we're doing at the World Food Program is working closely with the government to make sure that we support both those immediate needs, but the longer term planning. What we will do is stand by the people of Sri Lanka at this critical point in time. As I say, fly in some of those fortified foods to meet basic needs, but then also look at supporting people as they eventually are able to return to their homes and farms to make sure that we are able to support them in that transition process, because that ultimately will pull the people through to a more sustainable way of getting back to their lives, which is what we want to do.
Right. So forward planning is key because looking beyond this emergency phase, I believe there needs to be efforts to change Sri Lanka's disaster planning and social protection system so that the next cyclone, God forbid, does not push so many families straight into hunger. What's the WFP stance on that?
Yes, and indeed, we've actually been working with the government to help it improve the capacity of its own disaster management planning. And that's something that we'll continue to do to support the government in being able to gather data in emergencies like this, to be able to do rapid assessments, to know where the people are, and then to be able to support them in doing a rapid response. It's clear that more capacity support is required over that. And again, the World Food Program stands ready to keep doing that so that indeed the next time that a disaster of this magnitude happens, the government and the humanitarian community will be in a better position to be able to respond quickly and rapidly and effectively.
And how exactly is the coordination between the WFP and the Sri Lankan government going right now?
The coordination is going very well. The World Food Program works again within the rest of the UN team, and we have daily conversations with the Sri Lankan government, again making sure that we're working closely with them on identifying where the rapid needs are most in need, where to get supplies out, how we can make sure that those are coordinated and supplied. So again, there's always challenges at the beginning of an operation of this size and given the magnitude of requirements, but the cooperation works incredibly well, and we'll certainly have to work on this for weeks and months ahead, given the size and scope of what's happened here.
Last question to you. Looking at Sri Lanka's crisis that started as something economic and now climate, why should people believe the WFP can do just more than simply document the hunger and issue reports?
Yeah, I mean, we are here, we're on the ground. We have teams both in Colombo, but throughout the provinces. As I say, we've already been distributing some essential supplies to people who need them. And we're flying in global food support to be able to respond. So we certainly have the expertise, the knowledge, and are ready to immediately implement all of that at scale. And indeed, if any of your viewers are ready to support the work of the World Food Program, they can do so by going to wfp.org and making individual private contributions. Any small contribution helps toward an operation like this.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Philip Ward, Country Director from the World Food Program in Sri Lanka.